This is a story about a place called Gelert in North Wales and how it got its name. Hundreds of years ago, there was a prince who ruled the land. His name's Llewellyn, and Llewellyn was a kind man who had a wife and they had a little boy. They also had a dog called Gelert. Gelert was a beautiful tall greyhound and a hunting dog who would go and hunt with the king. He was also a very, very loyal dog who, on most occasions, could be seen by the side of the king. Now, very sadly, the queen died and was left with the boy and, of course, the dog. Now, the boy was a much-loved son, and the king doted after him and had him placed in his chamber and be with his by the side, as was the dog. Most people were worried about this because they were conscious that dogs could be very, very possessive of people. But the king laughed and said, "They are my favourite people and animals of the whole world. They should be together. They should be together." And thus it was. Everywhere they went, the boy went, and so did the dog. But people were not happy. Now one morning, the king rose from his bed. Am I calling him a king? I was a prince, I can't remember. The king rose from his bed and said he would go hunting. He called his men, they pulled the dogs together, and Gelert was brought to take part in the hunting. I must leave the boy, who was still a baby, back at the castles of the king. He called a maid. "You must look after him. If he falls asleep, leave him in peace, leave him on his own, but leave him. Be aware of him, please. I will now go hunting. Until tomorrow. Until this evening, rather. I will be back." Llewellyn went off hunting with his pack of hounds and his men. During the day, Gelert looked around and noticed that Llewellyn looked around and noticed that Gelert was not in amongst his pack. "That's strange," he thought. "That's strange." There had been word that there had been wolves in the area, and he kind of needed Gelert there because Gelert was a well-known killer of large animals like that. But he shrugged and thought, there'll be an explanation. They had a very poor day hunting. They caught nothing. They went there, and Llewellyn made his way back to his castle. And when he got back to the castle, out from his chambers stumbled Gelert, completely covered in blood. "What's happened to you, boy?" said the king. "What's happened?" "Strange." Gelert collapsed on the ground in front of him in the yard. And Llewellyn made his way to his chambers, and he called for the maid. "Where's the boy?" "I left him asleep, sir. I left him asleep as you instructed." And Llewellyn made his way into his chamber, and there was a scene of utter destruction. Utter destruction. Tapestries were pulled down. The basket where the boy should be asleep was rolled against the wall towards where the pile of tapestries were, and there was blood on the walls. The dog has done this! He was jealous!" shouted Llewellyn, and rushed out in the yard and took out his knife and struck the dog through the heart. The dog looked at him and lay slowly to the ground and died. Llewellyn rushed back into his chambers, looked everywhere for the boy. And just then, there was a whimper from underneath the tapestries, and a little baby boy crawled out. And just then the maid rushed in and said, "There is a dead wolf outside, sir. A dead wolf, a huge wolf. Your dog must have killed it." And Llewellyn grabbed the boy and broke down in tears when he realized what had happened and what he had done in his rage. Holding the boy, he went out to the yard and knelt down beside the now dead Gelert and wept. To this day, you can find the grave of Gelert at Bed Gelert, and now a modern statue of the dog that Llewellyn killed in a fit of rage.